In the opening scene, we see a harvest festival where the county's pumpkin pie bake-off is taking place. The host introduces the two finalists, Faye McCarthy and Lydia Harper, who are longtime friends. The bake-off begins and Lydia starts talking with Faye. Faye is upset that Lydia had ditched their plans of opening a bakery together and instead opened her shop with the help of her father. Lydia tries to explain that she didn't have a choice, but Faye is still upset with her, and she reminds Lydia of how she taught her everything she knows. The audience is listening to their conversation and the host tries to resolve the issue when it seems like a fight is about to break out. Their respective husbands, Reggie McCarthy and Max Harper, who have been watching the interaction, suspect that a feud would start and they won't be able to meet up to play golf as they had planned. After the bake-off, Faye is holding the trophy, which means that she won the bake-off. Lydia gives Faye a piece of her mind. She thinks that their plans to open a bakery together was a pipe dream, and Faye reminds her of the loan she took to fulfill that pipe dream. Faye decides to open her bakery and boasts that she has a lifetime of recipes and that she's going to display her trophy in the front of her bakery. Lydia dares Faye and she accepts her challenge. They disperse as their husbands sadly bid goodbye. The next scene begins 10 years later in Faye's bakery shop, Sweet Factory. Faye, while looking for Casey for a taste test, realizes the step is broken. She finds Casey, her daughter, in her office revising the uploading budget and asks her to check it out. Faye reminds her that was the reason she hired her. Casey explains the benefit of it to her mom and reveals that she is developing an advertising marketing plan. Faye suggests getting a Buckeye Hotel account to ease their worry and enable them to make a lot of pastries for continental breakfast. Casey is not sure about it and tells her mom to focus on baking. On departing, Faye tells Casey to accompany her to taste the pastry for the year bake-off. Losing 3 years in a row to Lydia worries Faye as her business is on the line. She knows Lydia's business is booming. Casey assures Faye that she will win this year and things will turn for the better. Then while leaving, Faye trips on the step and falls. At Faye's place, Casey sees her dad watching baseball. She is there to check up on her mom, however, she is resting. He mentions that the medication is only working for the physical pain, not the mental, and her leg might take 6 weeks or more to heal, and if things get complicated, she might need surgery. Casey blames herself for not fixing the step. But her dad doesn't want her to be worried. She is worried that the only thing they can afford at the moment is a substitute baker for the morning, which she already arranged for. Reggie asks her if she can take the responsibility of baking, but she turns it down because of the incident that occurred the last time. Casey assures her dad she has it all figured out, but she is missing the bake-off. She asks what they are going to do, and he tells her that it is her duty. She laughs until she realizes he is being serious. He believes she can do it. Casey reminds him that she almost burned down the store and does not believe in herself. Regardless, he believes in her and promises to talk to her mom about it. Later, Faye and Casey talk about the bake-off. Casey suggests that someone has to go to the bake-off but not her. However, Faye says she has to do it herself because there is no choice. Casey reveals she can't do the bake-off because she will have to stand for hours. This saddens her because their business depends on it. Casey suggests that she competes at the bake-off because it will attract and create publicity for their business. This makes sense, so Faye tells her to ensure she wins the competition. In Lydia's bakery shop, Sam tries to convince her to expand the menu, but she is bent on not doing that. She informs him that the bakery can't handle the volume of a full-service restaurant. Sam suggests that they have another building, but this cannot work because they do not have enough money to expand. He suggests that they apply for a loan that they will pay off in no time. He reminds her of her favorite expression, create something unique for you. Her son tries to convince her, but she doesn't think it will work and leaves to attend to her customers. Later, Casey is in her room researching about the bake-off. Meanwhile, Lydia is happy because she receives information that Faye broke her leg, so Casey is replacing her in the competition, and she is not so good. Sam does not seem too excited about it. She urges Sam to take on the bake-off instead of her. She wants him to do it for the story that will be tagged. The family feud moves on to the next generation. This will bring more publicity as a lot of media platforms and the press will cover it. The moment the episode of the competition airs, they will get a lot of customers. Sam agrees to do it on the condition that he will write a presentation and a business plan for their restaurant, and she will consider it. She agrees. At the amusement park, Faye advises Casey on the competition. Simultaneously, Lydia is doing the same with Sam. They both warn their children against making mistakes. The two parties meet each other at the park but cannot stand the sight of each other. The anchor gets on the stage and lays down the procedures of the competition. He urges the competitors to be extra creative for the year's competition. After the opening speech, the competitors go to register. Casey is nervous about Sam joining the competition and informs her mom how good he was at everything in high school, although they were not friends because of their parents' war. Casey believes she can't compete with Sam, who is a professional chef. Faye tries to assure her daughter that she will teach her everything she knows, but Casey doesn't think it will work because of her mother's broken leg. In the next scene, Casey meets Sam on her way out. They have a little chit-chat and she boasts about how she is going to win the competition. Sam knows she's just hyping herself up. Right now, the challenge is on a personal level. In the next scene, Casey is in the kitchen preparing her for the competition. Unfortunately, she is getting it all wrong. Faye informs her that her sister is coming home early to help with the competition. She also reminds her of her pitch meeting with the Buckeye Hotel. At the pumpkin market, Casey bumps into Sam. He teases her for not knowing the difference between a carving pumpkin and a baking pumpkin. She claims to be good at other things and asks him to fold, but he refuses. They decide to continue the feud between their mothers. Sam leaves and Casey later figures out what a baking pumpkin is. At the McCarthy's house, Faye guides Casey on her meeting at the hotel. Casey assures her that she has everything under control. She is annoyed that Sam thinks she doesn't know her way around the kitchen, and Faye reminds her that she doesn't. She warns Casey about Sam, reminding her that he is still Lydia's son. Casey assures her mom that she can handle herself and that her family business is more important to her. The next scene shows Sam designing the menu for the proposal and printing it out. At the McCarthy bakery, Casey is in the kitchen. She is trying to make her mother's pumpkin bread but is not getting it right and burns the pumpkin in the oven. Hearing the smoke alarm beep, Sam rushes over to the bakery. He teases her and they both laugh about it. It is the second time the firefighters are coming to the bakery and Casey confesses to Sam that she is a bad cook, but Sam just wants to make sure she is okay. This discussion leads to Sam telling Casey about his idea to turn the bakery into a restaurant. Casey wonders why he hasn't gone through with his plan, and he reveals that his mom is worried about the bakery. She is afraid the restaurant will cover up the bakery. Sam realizes that Casey is also not comfortable with her mother's bakery. He informs her about his business proposal to his mother, the restaurant, and the deal they made. He mentions that the business plan is taking a little longer and Casey advises him to go for it. Casey reveals how bad her preparation for the bake-off is going, and just then, she gets an idea. She will help him with his proposal for the restaurant and he will teach her how to bake. They both have a deal on the condition that no third party is involved. In the next scene, Sam is on the phone call with Casey while preparing to bake. Casey is worried about them being caught, so she urges Sam to be very discreet. They agree to have their meeting at 10. Upon entering the bakery, she meets her niece with her sister sitting on the chair. Betty, Faye's friend, asks for peace between Faye and Lydia, but Faye wouldn't have any of that. Casey is concerned that her mom is moving around, despite the doctor's warning. Alyssa is there for the drama and wants to see Casey go against Sam, but she informs her sister that they're not going to continue the feud, adding that she is not prepared for the competition. At 10, Sam sneaks into Casey's shop. He wonders why she runs a bakery but can't cook. This makes her reveal that she has always been the brains and is into business. She thinks cooking is not for her, but Sam encourages her, adding that practice makes perfect. Seeing how good he is at cooking, he reveals that his grandma used to say that if one wants to show that they love someone, they cook for them, so that is what he does. Casey listens to Sam as he talks about his dream of a restaurant. He guides her hand while mixing the dough, and one can sense a little spark between the two in this scene. Casey promises to help Sam with his business plan and they call it a night. The next day, Casey takes the bread out of the oven and Reggie mentions that it smells good. Casey thinks her mom sent her father to spy on her, but he is there to get snacks for his golf game with none other than Max. He takes a bite of a cookie and comments that Lydia's cookie is better. Casey reprimands her father for his statement. Reggie wishes her good luck in her proposal before leaving. In the next scene, Casey walks out of the Buckeye Hotel and gets a call from Faye, who wants to know how the proposal went. She reveals that it went well and assures her mother that she did everything they discussed. She is happy to hear the news and Casey is sure that they have a good shot. Later that evening, Alyssa walks into the bakery and Casey welcomes her, thinking she is Sam. She quickly covers up for her mistake. Alyssa offers to close the shop while Casey goes home, but she refuses and makes up an excuse to stay behind. Casey sees Sam outside the shop and stares at him, hoping he'll get the message. He understands and leaves, but Alyssa, who's been watching Casey's suspicious behavior, turns around in enough time to see him. When Alyssa points him out, Casey feigns ignorance. After Alyssa leaves, Sam and Casey meet up at the bakery to work on his project. She apologizes for the earlier incident. They start working on the proposal and Sam can't help but mention how good she is. He wonders if she ever felt like contacting the company in New York, and she admits that she has felt that way when she fought with her mother, but she likes the town and wants to spend the rest of her life here. Sam understands how she feels. Casey changes the topic, as she hopes the proposal gets him closer to achieving his dreams, since he'll need an alternative when she beats him at the bake-off the next day. She climbs a ladder to hide the proposal at the top of some boxes. Sam doesn't think she'll have a chance against him and Casey wishes him good luck. She slips and is caught in Sam's strong arms. They stare into each other's eyes for a while before Casey breaks eye contact and gestures for them to leave. The next day, Alyssa helps Casey load her things into the trunk of her car. Casey confesses that she's nervous. Alyssa advises her to do what speaks to her, and for Casey, it is the bakery. Alyssa then advises her to have fun with cooking, which is surprising to Casey, who never thought cooking was supposed to be fun. In the next scene, Sam runs up to Casey to inform her that he has read the proposal and he loves it. She reminds him to not reveal to anyone that she helped him with it, and he agrees. Concerning the bake-off, she reveals that she's fluctuating between feeling terrified and feeling numb. They notice that people are watching, so they decide to give the people what they want: drama. They walk into the room and start talking down on each other as they head to the stage. Faye gives Casey a thumbs up as she passes her. They stop when the third contestant complains. The host comes up and lays out the rules before starting the bake-off. Faye and Lydia cheer for their children. An hour later, Casey presents her dish to the audience and is applauded. Sam and the last contestant do the same thing before leaving the stage. After the bake-off, Casey sits with her niece at the amusement park. Sam joins them and commends her for the bake-off, but Casey is not sure she did well. He mentions that they gave the people a taste of what is coming at the finals with the family feud. He lets her know that he's proud of her and leaves when he sees Faye and Alyssa approaching. Faye wonders what Sam wants, but Casey smiles, saying he is wishing her good luck. Later, while Casey bumps into Lydia, who walks in with Sam and some friends, Faye walks up to Lydia to start a banter. Casey sees this and quickly hurries to her mother's side. Faye and Lydia talk down on each other, and Faye provokes Lydia by bringing up the fact that she used to use ready-made dough. Casey and Sam successfully separate their mothers and go their separate ways. In the next scene, Sam and Casey have a picnic in a clearing in a bush. Casey suggests that they think of a way to end the feud since she's getting tired of hiding their friendship, but Sam thinks it's fun having a secret with her. Casey is worried about losing to him, which would affect their business. She gets a text from Alyssa, who asks her to return as the judging is in 5 minutes. She expresses her desire to win, and Sam tells her that he wants to win too. She wishes him good luck. Back at the bake-off, the host announces that only 3 contestants will move to the finals. The 3 contestants are Sam, Betty, and Casey. Afterward, Casey and Sam walk side by side as they head for the car. Sam wonders why she isn't happy, and she confesses that she doesn't want to compete against him. They don't mind the people watching them in surprise. Sam reveals that he has a business plan that may attract investors if she wins. Casey informs him that it'll be bad for their business if he wins, since they haven't heard back from the hotel. Casey reveals that she only knows how to make one dish, and it isn't pumpkin pie. They agree to continue helping each other. In the next scene, Casey walks into the bakery and sees her mother chatting with Betty. Her mother reminds her of Jade, Betty's son. Betty mentions that her son is single and has a boat, but Casey isn't interested. Faye suggests that Casey take the night off. She texts Sam to let him know that it would not be possible to meet that night, so Sam suggests that she come to his bakery instead. At the McCarthy's house, Casey gives Reggie some snacks from the bakery. She informs her father that she has to practice her pumpkin pie recipes and adds that she came up with her recipe. He asks if she talked to Faye about it, but Casey wants to surprise her mother. She wants to prove herself to her. In the next scene, Casey and Sam work on his business plan. The plan Casey made is going to rack up profits for Sam, and he finds her even more incredible. She boasts that there's no mistake in the plan. They stare into each other's eyes for some time before being interrupted by the oven beep. Casey brings out the crust of the pie from the oven and is disappointed by the result. She missed an ingredient and had to start over. She thinks she's not cut out for baking, but Sam encourages her to try again till she gets it. The next morning, Casey and Sam walk out of the bakery wearing the same clothes as last night, which means that they spent the night there. He walks her to her car, and Casey thanks him for not giving up on her. She hugs Sam, and just then, she sees her dad hanging out with Max. The 2 parties are surprised to have been caught by the other. Max, Reggie, Sam, and Casey sit at a table in the park. Reggie explains that he has been sneaking off to meet Max for the past 10 years. Max reveals that they've been trying to settle the feud for years but have decided to stay out of the mess and continue sneaking around, adding that it was surprising to see Sam and Casey together. Casey explains to them that they're helping each other out. Sam asks them not to tell anybody about it, and they accept on the condition that Sam and Casey will do the same for them. In the next scene, Faye asks Casey to call the hotel, but Casey doesn't want them to seem desperate. Faye is worried because the business is slow and they need the hotel account. She assures her mother that she'll win the bake-off. Faye wants to help since her leg is now better, but Casey refuses her help. She can see that her mother doesn't think she can win and threatens to quit if she doesn't support her. Faye has no choice and decides to support her daughter. Later on, Casey closes the shop and lets Sam in. He reveals that a friend hooked him up with a restaurant that seems interested in the bakery expansion, adding that he's meeting them the next day. She's happy for him, and he confesses that she's the first person he wanted to tell when he got the news. Sam notices her countenance, making her reveal that she got into a little fight with her mother. He wants to take her to dinner to lighten her mood, and she wonders how they're going to do it without being seen together in public, so Sam puts forward an idea. In the next scene, Sam holds Casey, who's covering her eyes, as he leads her to their spot. He gives her the go-ahead to open her eyes, and she sees a table set up, decorated beautifully. Talking about her disagreement with her mother, he thinks she's proven herself enough, and Casey agrees with him. She doesn't want to lose herself in the process of trying to make the bakery successful. They both admit that they don't want to live their lives the way their mothers did. They make a good team. He has a suggestion and Casey tells him to keep it brief, but Sam says it's impossible as he leans in to kiss her. The next day, Casey tells Alyssa about what happened the night before. Her sister is surprised and mentions what will happen if their mother finds out. Alyssa assures Casey that everything will be fine in the family business. In the next scene, Alyssa and Casey return to the bakery and see the parents looking sad. They didn't get the hotel account because someone offered a lower bid. Casey thinks it's her fault, but Faye thinks that there was no way she would have known that someone would offer a lower bid. Faye takes the blame for not managing the business well, adding that Lydia will finally get her win, but Casey refuses to let that happen. Casey promises to win the contest and get them all the press they need to revive the business. In the next scene, Casey practices her recipe. She sees Betty, who's asking after Faye. Betty reveals that she had a rough day and wanted to talk to someone and also get a muffin. Casey gives her a muffin and proceeds to use the restroom. Meanwhile, Sam is meeting with the restaurant. They like his business plan but want someone with more exposure, which means that he has to win the bake-off. Back at the bakery, Betty walks out of the bathroom informing Casey that she has another appointment and will call her later. She hurries off and forgets the muffin. In the next scene, Sam and Casey walk together at the park. She reveals to him that their business isn't going well. She can't believe that a contest is what determines their future, and it's even worse especially since she doesn't think she can win against him at the bake-off. But Sam isn't sure she'll lose to him. She asks if he can show her how to make a bourbon whipped cream. At the amusement park, Sam and Casey sit at the opposite sides of the table but stare at each other. Alyssa reminds Casey that she needs to be discreet. They also notice Lydia staring at Faye as she talks with Betty. Casey thinks it's sad since they all used to be friends, but Alyssa believes she can't save everybody. Casey gets a text from Sam who asks her to meet him behind the pavilion. Upon getting to him, she kisses him and tells him she's thinking about what her sister said regarding things falling into place. She admits that sneaking around is making her anxious. He suggests that they figure out how to make the relationship work after the bake-off, and she agrees. She kisses him again before leaving. Unbeknownst to them, Betty was watching their interaction. Later on, Faye finds out about Sam and Casey from Betty and scolds her daughter for hanging out with an enemy. Casey reveals that Sam was the one who helped her get to the finals, but Faye thinks there's an angle to it. Casey wonders when her mother will let go of the feud, but Faye doesn't accept any blame as she thinks Casey is at fault. Meanwhile, Lydia is also scolding Sam for being in a relationship with Casey. She thinks that it's a conspiracy to bring them down, but he reminds her that he wouldn't do anything to jeopardize his business plan, adding that Casey was the one who helped him make the plan. Lydia thinks it's a strategy to win and doesn't care who he works with, as long as he wins. Sam tries to explain things to her, but Lydia walks off. Alyssa, who hears the conversation between Sam and his mother, reports to Casey and Faye. She mentions them talking about something being a strategy. Casey finds it hard to believe that he would say that about her. Alyssa advises her to talk to Sam about it even though Faye is against it. In the next scene, Casey meets Sam at a bar. She's not worried about being seen with him because everyone knows about them already. She reveals that Alyssa overheard them saying something about her being a strategy. She wonders why he didn't correct the misunderstanding, and he reveals that he tried. She thinks they're not meant to be, even though Sam is sure that she doesn't believe that. He thinks that they bring out the best in each other and wants them to get through the bake-off. The bartender asks why they're not on the news. Then, they see Betty on the news, telling everyone the new recipe she came up with. She stole the recipe for Casey's pie and the recipe for Sam's crust. Sam comes up with the idea of partnering up and try to meet Faye. At the McCarthy house, Faye doesn't want to believe that Betty would do that to anyone. She wonders what they'll do since they can't use their recipe or they'll think they copied her. They tell her to meet with Lydia and she refuses. But Casey pleads with her to do it for her, so she agrees. At the Harper's house, Sam calls out for Lydia and she comes out. She turns around to leave when she sees Faye, but he stops her, telling her it's important. Lydia wonders how Betty got the recipe for Casey's pie. Casey reveals that she had asked to use the bathroom and must have seen it at the kitchen table. Lydia and Faye tell them that they always hide their recipes in a safe. Lydia confesses that she mentioned Sam's crust recipe to Betty because she's her friend, but Faye says that sometimes friends betray one another. Casey and Sam ask them to make a recipe that'll beat any other recipe. Casey and Sam watch in awe as their mothers work together for the first time in 10 years. Casey writes down the recipe as it's being made. Midway, Lydia comes up with an idea to add cream cheese to the pie. Faye gets an ingredient from the pantry and meets Lydia on her way out. Lydia apologizes for ditching her and confesses that she felt like she was in Faye's shadow. Faye thinks it is the other way around, but Lydia confesses that she was always insecure around Faye. She had to live in the bakery to win the bake-offs just to prove that she was better than Faye. Faye thinks that they motivated each other to be the better version of themselves. They hug for the first time in forever. Sam and Casey witness the special moment between their mothers and are happy to know that there's no more feud. The final product of the recipe is ready and everyone is satisfied with it. Faye reminds them that they only have one shot at the bake-off and Casey assures her that it'll be fine. In the next scene, Casey and Sam walk to the stage for the finals. Betty wonders if one of them will be dropping out but is told that they decided to partner up. She finds out that it's legal to partner up since they are both finalists. The bake-off begins and Casey notices that Betty took a picture of her recipe instead of taking the recipe. Fortunately, Casey has the original. Sam promises to make it a bake-off they'll never forget. A few minutes later, Sam presents their pumpkin pie and Betty does the same. Casey then asks how Betty got her recipe. Betty makes up a lie and Casey asks if the recipe is in her handwriting, which Betty claims it is. Casey brings out the original recipe and reveals it to the crowd. The host, Bob, asks Betty if it's true but she denies it. Bob then asks her to provide a handwriting sample but instead, she confesses. She's automatically disqualified, making Sam and Casey the winners. They kiss in front of the crowd and everyone cheers for them. A year later, Sam has opened his restaurant and has to attend to some customers who want to compliment the chef. He takes his ring off a board which has a wedding photo of him and Casey on it. The customers turn out to be Reggie and Max, who have been regulars over the years. Casey joins them and jokes that they'll have to start charging them for eating at the restaurant. Sam and Casey walk away and we see that the restaurant is an extension of the bakery, which is being run by Lydia and Faye. Finally, we see the name of the business, which is Sam and Casey's Bakery and Restaurant.